Good afternoon. Welcome to our annual Hear Our Voices Literary Competition Celebration. I am Ebony Brown, Coordinator of Elementary English Language Arts. It is an honor to stand here before you today and celebrate our scholars' powerful voices. At this time, I would like to recognize our Superintendent, Dr. Morcease Beasley, Clayton County, Dr. Morcease Beasley. I would also like to recognize any board members that we have present, as well as a special recognition to Dr. Ebony Lee, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment. Without her leadership and love for literacy, our district continues to truly lift literacy across Clayton County Public Schools. Additionally, I would like to recognize our special guest, Fifi Handy, founder and executive director of Page Turner's Make Great Learners. Dr. Erica Lloyd, secondary English language arts lead and motivational speaker, and the women of Clayton County. Last but not least, I would like to acknowledge and welcome our scholars, parents, and guardians. We are so glad that you are here, and we are here to celebrate your written and spoken thoughts. Let's give everyone a warm round of applause. Know that we are here because you raised your voice and you were heard. Our Hear Our Voices literary competition provides a platform for our scholars to showcase their thoughts and love of literacy. Though the world was challenging over the past year, our scholars' love for literacy was not impacted. Without hesitation, our scholars leaped at the opportunity to raise their voice and be heard. Scholars competed in one of the following categories: dictated narrative, essay, speech, poetry, spoken word, and multimedia presentation. Today, we are in for a treat. Our scholars are about to wow us and blow us right out of our seats. No man is an island to himself. Therefore, it truly takes a team effort to ensure a successful Hear Our Voices competition season. I would like to thank my dynamic colleagues, Tiffany Barner-Davis, Tanya Potter, and Martha Bain. Know that I greatly appreciate all of your tireless and selfless acts to ensure that our scholars are showcased in grand fashion. I could not ask for a better group of go-getters to ensure the tasks are completed at a high level of excellence. I would be remiss if I did not recognize and thank my counterpart, Elisar Gray, coordinator of secondary English language arts. Mrs. Gray's knowledge and guidance are truly vital to our work as we lead literacy in our district. Today, our scholars will use their voices to bring forth their personal perspectives that will be birthed through literary expressions. Every day, we use our voice. We use it to talk about what's going on, to communicate our understanding of various topics, to express our opinions, and much more. Our voice is the most powerful tool that each of us possess. Words are singularly the most powerful force available to humanity. This competition highlights the energy and power of words that our scholars in grades kindergarten through 12th embody. Annually, scholars that participate in the speech, spoken word, and multimedia portion of the competition are provided a topic. This year's topic is as follows. The year 2020 has amplified many critical challenges that have impacted lives locally, nationally, and worldwide for decades. The widespread infection of the coronavirus, racism, social injustice, and unrest have prompted an outcry for an increase in civic engagement, responsibilities, and duties from citizens across the world. How can you raise your voice to create solutions to take action to mitigate the challenges the country continues to face today? Be a Jedi. Justice, equality, diversity, and inclusion. While you may think this topic is a heavy topic, Our scholars truly connected with it. Tonight, we will hear the voices of our top winning scholars for the 2021 school year. Now, without further delay, it's time to begin the celebration and receive greetings from Dr. Morcease Beasley, Superintendent of Clayton County Public Schools, followed by Dr. Ebony Lee, Assistant Superintendent of Clayton County Public Schools. We will follow the program as printed. Let us give a warm welcome for Dr. Morcease Beasley.
Hello, everyone. Y'all are either hot, tired, or both. It's been a long day, but we're grateful to be here. Thank you, Ms. Brown, for your leadership and teams. Good to see our Teacher of the Year over there, Tony Phillips, and of course, Fifi. It's always good to have you in our midst, Dr. Lee, Dr. Gray. To all of you parents and all, I know you all are social distancing, but let's give our students a great round of applause. Well, I hope that all of your families are well, the children are well, and you all know, regardless of what goes on in the world, whether it's pandemic, food shortage, gas shortage, outage, whatever you want to call it, we still have school, don't we? And that's the way it ought to be. Our children are counting on us to still have school. And since we're still having school, I'm very pleased to know that we continue with this literary magazine, Hear Our Voices. So I'm excited that the students will be able to get something that they can display in their yards to let everybody that drives past the house that your child is writing and being heard. And I want to encourage all of us as adults, parents, and as children. I hope we're all writing. How many of you journal? Raise your hand. I want to see. If you're not journaling, you should. One reason I keep journals is because I like to get my thoughts out. Secondly, I like to be able to go back and see what I was thinking some time ago. And thirdly, you know why I keep journals? So one day when I'm dead and gone, my children can read my thoughts. Yeah. So I want to encourage all of you to journal and to write. As a matter of fact, I set up a folder electronically, and I tell my children, if anything ever happens to me, everything I've written belongs to you all. It becomes you all's intellectual property. Y'all can put it in a book if that's what you want to do and sell it. My point is this. I remember Dr. King, Bernice King, when she and her family were going through the conversation, I believe it was with the city of Atlanta. We're going to have some balloons fall in a minute. But when they were going through the conversation with the city of Atlanta about Dr. King's artifacts and his writings, for years his writings were extant in existence, but no one purchased his writings. But one day, at the appropriate time, they made a decision to purchase his writings for millions of dollars. That's after years of the King family basically living, as Dr. Bernice King would say, in poverty. But through that one decision of Dr. King putting his thoughts in writing, he basically created something that his family could sell to the city of Atlanta that all of us will see in some museum today. Through his writings. What is my point? My point is this. Young people, writing is very important. And anything worth sharing with somebody else, or anything you want people to know about you, or anything you want people to do, you should do what? Write it down. Write it down. Most of us govern our lives, raise your hand if I'm telling the truth. You govern your life off of a book that was written thousands of years ago. Raise your hand. Don't you? Oh, yes, you do. The point is, anything that was important enough for God to say, he touched somebody to do what? Write it down. So all I'm telling you young people is, if your thoughts are important, and they are, if what you feel is important, and then I want you to do what? Write it down. And parents, that goes to all of us adults as well. Would y'all receive that from Dr. Beasley? Write it down. If for nothing else, and I don't plan on selling everything I write down, but if years from now, if my children can get a glimpse into something I've said that may encourage them at some point in their lives when I'm gone, how many know what I have written down would have been well worth the effort? I encourage all of you to keep writing, and young people, you keep writing. I want you to write so much that you write books and tons of them. And did you know this, young people? Did you know this? That you can write a book, an electronic book, a hard copy book, for less than $1,000. Did you know that? All you need is a book ID number. You can buy 10 book ID numbers for $500. Yeah, you can. I have 10 of them. I've only used one. I got 9 more to go. I can go right now to the iBook store and post a book if I have it written. You can do that. My point is, I want you to write, and I want you to know how easy it is for people to read your writing, and you can add a little money to it if you want them to buy it, and you can make some money too. Anything wrong with making a little money? I don't think so. What's the point? Get educated, become a better person, but we also get educated so we can make a little what? Make a little money. So young people, keep reading. I hope to hear that you all are publishing. And the day you publish and you put your book on ebooks or in the iBooks, send me an email and I'll be one to buy a copy or two. But you got to show me that you got one there, and I will be glad to buy a copy. And I'll finish with this. You all don't know this, but I have a book that I put on iBooks. I just was writing one day about my boys, and I made a story with 12 chapters and decided to just post it on ebook. It's not a bestseller or anything like that, but guess what? Every now and then I hear cha-ching. Every now and then I get a little statement that says somebody bought the book. It doesn't buy a whole lot of groceries, but it's more than what I want. More than what I had. My point to you all is you can do it, and I think y'all are better writers than I am, so I expect a whole lot of cha-chinging going on. Y'all have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Beasley. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
And I would like to also thank Ms. Ebony Brown and Elisar Gray for just their work with continuing the beauty of the Hear Our Voices competition. It has been around, you all, for how long do you think?
30 years.
Over 30 years. And formerly as an English teacher, I remember 20 years ago working with my students and encouraging them to hear and share their voice. So scholars, congratulations on not only being winners, but being voices for change. And as I read your submissions, I was completely wowed just by your perspectives, the way your creativity, your critical thought to pressing matters. Many times we ask our students, what do you want to do and what do you want to be when you grow older? Well, how many of you all know the question is, what problem do you want to solve? And what I heard in those writings are a lot of problem solvers. So I just want to leave you with 3 things around the purpose of writing. I had 4, but Dr. Beasley addressed it thoroughly, how writing is timeless and allows you to revisit you once you're no longer here. But also writing helps with clarity. Anytime that you're speaking or trying to think of ideas or put products together, writing it down helps your ideas to become cogent and coherent. It also allows you to re-experience a thought. Whether you're vacationing and you want to write about it, or you're reading something and you want to summarize and capture it, writing helps with clarity. It's also, writing is the evidence of your thinking. If you're not speaking and if you're not writing, I don't know your thoughts. Just like now, I only know the thoughts of those who entered into the contest. And then lastly, writing is a process. So even though you've won and your writings have been submitted, a few days or a few weeks or months or years later, you may return to that writing and continue to enhance it. So scholars, keep reading, keep writing, keep inspiring. Your voice matters and the world deserves to hear it. So congratulations, my Jedis. Keep standing for justice, equality, diversity, and inclusion. Congratulations. Ms. Brown, I'll turn it back over to you.
Those words were very inspiring. I really, really, really hope that you heard the message from Dr. Lee as well as Dr. Beasley. I would now like to introduce to you one of our guest speakers for this evening. Fifi Handy is the founder and executive director of the Atlanta-based literacy organization, Page Turners Make Great Learners. Its mission is to expand children's knowledge and understanding of the world, themselves, and their unique possibilities by igniting a love of reading. Since 2015, Page Turners has partnered with corporations such as CBS 46, PNC Bank, Mercedes-Benz USA, Southern Company, UPS, Coca-Cola, and Chick-fil-A Foundation, Cricket Wireless, and many others. The organization has hosted over 30 award-winning and New York Times best-selling authors, including Angie Thomas, Jason Reynolds, Raina Tellemere, and Diary of a Wimpy Kid author, Jeff Keeney. She has interviewed all of them, including award-winning actress, activist, mom, and author, Gabrielle Nguyen. Ms. Handy is an accomplished professional who has made numerous appearances on CBS 46 in support of their Books to Kids campaign and has spoken on panels of various nonprofit agencies, including Junior League of Atlanta and Community in Schools. Since she has been featured in numerous articles in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the cover of Lady Fayette Woman magazine, City Lifestyle, Buckhead magazine, Northside Neighbor, and Peachtree Papers. She was recently nominated as Atlanta's 2020 Hometown Hero by the Air Force Thunderbirds, where she took a flight beyond the clouds in an F-16 fighter jet. Now that is impressive. She serves as a board member on the AJC Decatur Book Festival, a member of the Georgia Department of Education's English Language Arts Literacy Council, and a literacy partner of the Get Georgia Reading. I am so honored to have a long-standing partnership with Ms. Fifi Handy, and let's welcome her to the stage. Ms. Fifi Handy.
Okay, you all, I'm gonna have to take this mask off. I'm having a personal season. God will give you confirmation when you're doing what you're supposed to do, because I'm not gonna share anything different from what Dr. Beasley and Dr. Lee just shared. Thank you so much, Ms. Brown, and your wonderful colleagues for having me here, Dr. Beasley, Dr. Lee, and all of your wonderful colleagues here in Clayton County School District. I'm gonna share a little story with you. As a kid, I lived in my head. I grew up as an only child, raised by my great-grandmother in a small town in Mississippi. In addition to that, I had severe asthma. So that meant if it rained, I had an asthma attack. When the seasons changed, I had an asthma attack. If I laughed too hard, I got an asthma attack. If I got scared, what happened? Yep, I got an asthma attack. So I did not spend a lot of time going outside to play. So books became my truest friend. Who knew that I would grow up and an integral part of the work that I do would involve providing and sharing stories? It is important that I make every effort to ensure my clients' needs are met. Who are my clients, you ask? Well, parents, look beside you. Those are my clients. I have to make sure that they're happy. But not only that, it is equally important to inspire, motivate, and equip our children with the magic and power of reading. Essentially, I want to help guide them toward finding their own story. I wish someone had asked me, or better yet, challenged me to search within to find my story when I was your age, students. Stories are all around us. We carry them with us everywhere we go. Some we've shared, and some are yet to be written. Today, I'd like to ask you and challenge you to find your story. What is it, educators, about the power of a story that resonates with the reader in such a way to say, I see you, I hear you, I value you, your voice, and your humanness? Are we foolish enough to think that all stories are written on paper, bound in a book with a spine like those on the table, a hard or soft cover with a short summary on the back to grab the attention of an interested passerby who believes there's something of substance within its pages? Of course not. You too have a story, but your story, students, has not been completely written yet. When we began to share parts of our story, we began to open pathways for understanding, compassion, empathy, kindness, and community. It is the story that connects us regardless of color, ethnicity, religion, or background. History is still telling your story through your academic and life experiences. There will be, yes, mistakes, missteps, but there will also be triumphs, humor, and there will be historical moments where you will find yourself teetering on the cusp of a groundbreaking idea, or maybe social justice or politics. Your name one day will be mentioned in rooms you haven't even stepped in yet. But when the opportunity presents itself and offers an open door where you're invited, and it will, make sure everyone knows you are in the room. Make sure you are prepared to lean in closely to the conversation. Listen carefully, actively, and make sure you have something to say. Your story will have passion and purpose. Yes, it will. Oh, yes. You are here for a reason. There is no one, look around you. There is no one like you. You are an original, not a copy. So be sure as you endeavor to continue your education, explore, test, ask questions, and speak up and use your voice. The purpose of your story will come when something moves you. That thing that stirs your spirit, evokes thought, emotion, and then action. Equally, your story will have passion. Passion is that thing that pricks your heart. It makes you want to tackle whatever comes within your path. It ignites your spirit and fuels you to keep running and working beyond the point of exhaustion. It bothers you when you see it. It bothers you when you hear it, and it propels you into the most exhilarating, crazy journey of a lifetime. Students, your story is still being written, but eventually it will be complete. Your story will connect you with people, places, and experiences you never thought you would encounter. You will find yourself in conversations where it is impossible to think you have anything in common with that person until you begin to share and realize you have more similarities than differences. There's a quote by Tim Burton that I love. Every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end, not necessarily in that order. See, we can simply let life happen, or we can choose to shape and tell a very particular and personal story. Who are the characters that populate your world? Your teachers? Your parents? Your friends? What have they taught you? Who are you? And how do you choose to live in this world? How do you shape, draft, revise, and share the unique story of you? Only you can answer those questions. And finally, when your story is complete, you will believe that the world is much larger than your backyard, your community, your neighborhood. When you use your voice, you will realize that in that moment, you will help open pathways, not only for others to tell their story, but to change the world. Thank you.
Let's give another round of applause for Miss Fifi Handy. Miss Handy is such a powerful, powerful person. And I just enjoy our relationship, I enjoy our conversations, and I really enjoy how she champions literacy, not just here in Clayton County Public Schools, but everywhere that she goes. So at this time, we are going to allow our scholars to shine. As I call your name, please come up and be prepared to raise your voice and be heard. Our first scholar tonight is David Nguyen. He is a scholar at Martha Stillwell School of the Arts, and he is in the 11th grade. His portion that he is going to present to us an excerpt from the essay that he submitted in the literary competition. Let's give David a warm round of applause as he makes his way to the stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad you all could make it. When I wrote this essay right here in my hand, I wrote it after an argument with between two of my friends that I had to moderate. They are two totally different people, two totally different beliefs, and my job was to make sure that they didn't become enemies and never talk to each other again. They haven't talked to each other for a while, so needless to say, I didn't do a very good job, but the result was this essay right here, and it helped me feel better after, I totally failed my job. So I am going to read it out loud, and I hope you guys take something away from it. The topic of politics in modern society has seemingly become taboo in casual conversation. These days, it's become increasingly common for politics to become a subject of wariness and unease. Everywhere we go, we're told no politics, the workplace, school, sometimes even our own dinner tables. Why? I don't know, maybe we're scared of confrontation. Maybe we're scared that we'll lose respect for someone because their political beliefs are wrong or different from ours. Why does it have to be that way? We've collectively agreed that it's important to discuss social issues such as mental health, gender identification, and sexual assault. However, the debate over modern politics has been hush-hush from person to person. It goes without saying that we universally accept racism as bad, just as we accept things like murder as bad. That's a given, right? Those that wish to harm or disenfranchise others are bad. These are concrete evils that a majority of us can stand against, regardless of sex, race, political stance, or class. Despite this shared footing, we have found a way to vilify each other based on how we want to fix these issues. Conservatives are painted as old, racist white men who wish to bring America down with them as they slowly die out. Liberals are portrayed as extremists, socialist snowflakes that are naive to the effects of their own beliefs. Over the course of American history, we've been entangled in a war of liberal versus conservative, Democratic versus Republican, things of that sort. We saw it as Alexander Hamilton took on Thomas Jefferson in their famous rivalry. We saw as Jacksonian democracy swept the nation while the Whig Party stood in its opposition. And finally, we see it as today's Democratic and Republican parties stand in a tense face-off for the heart of American politics. The practice of political philosophy has become widely available for all of us to take part in. Contrary to popular belief, it is rare to find a select individual that swings radically left or right. Unsurprisingly, but discouragingly surprising to a few, modern issues are wildly complex and don't align with an A or B option. Likewise, one's liberal stance on a certain issue might not match how they view another. It is completely possible to meet a pro-choice gun rights advocate, just as it's possible to meet a pro-life gun control advocate. We stick too closely to the exclusivity of left and right. We hold an all or nothing mentality when it comes to politics. You're either with us or you're against us. Being a young immigrant of color in America, many people assume me to be part of the radical left. Do I blame them? No. It's supported by hard data that ethnic groups such as Black, Asian, and Hispanic tilt Democratic. Millennials and Gen Zs are more likely to vote Democratic than baby boomers and Gen X. Well, I'm not radically liberal or in any shape, way, or form. In fact, I hold many conservative views in which I will not name at this time. However, these conservative views do not affect my liberal stances in any way, shape, or form. My opinion on gun control has nothing to do with my opinion on climate change. Shocking. It's a special case with the effect of race on political affiliation. I don't quite think that most ethnicities vote Democrat because they're inherently liberal. In fact, I think it boils down to one thing, one sentiment and one stereotype. All Republicans are racist. And as a Black man in America, or as an Asian woman in America, or a Hispanic person in America, we rally against that. Which is good, don't get me wrong, but we rally against the stereotype nonetheless. I'm not telling you how to vote, and I wouldn't dream of it. I don't expect my speech to change your political stances, quite the opposite. I simply ask that both sides treat each other with respect and dignity. It has become weaved into public narrative that Republican politicians are the overseers of decades and decades of racial discrimination and prejudice within the United States. This isn't necessarily true because if you know, Republicans have been pro-racial equality ever since its rise with President Lincoln, all the way to the Civil Rights Movement, in which the political parties shifted. Yet somehow, we've evolved to a point where it's become socially acceptable to frame conservative Republicans as old racist white men. I'm not saying that both sides aren't subject to ridicule, because they're not. I'm simply stating the fact that in modern public opinion, it's easier to call someone a racist or a sexist rather than having to convince those around you that you're not. In contrast, liberals get made fun of for being snowflakes who can't take a joke. They give away handouts at our expense to people who don't deserve it. But at the end of the day, they want one thing, to better their fellow man and to lift him or her up. That's what we all want here. Somehow, we found a way to weaponize compassion in this day and age. I find it ironic that the liberal message of tolerance and equality somehow paved the road for society to shame those that don't share in our arbitrary label or affiliation. Human thinking and rationale have so much more complexities than a multiple choice test. If you think about it, a pro-life advocate might hesitate to call for a ban on abortion out of fear that back alley abortions and uncertified operations might take more lives than would be saved by a ban. Environmental activists might be wary to set up thousands of windmills and solar panels so quickly due to the possible geological catastrophe that comes with building so much new infrastructure in such a short amount of time. These issues have nuance. Every single solution has unintended consequences and shortcomings that may or may not be intentional. Despite this, uninformed citizens like you or me usually gravitate to radical solutions since they are most likely to cause the most change. Except we don't know if a change would be good or bad. All we know is that it's a change. The concept of moderatorism, and God forbid, being unaffiliated, seems to be stuck in this dark zone in the realm of public opinion. We resent the other side so much that we refuse to meet in the middle, to compromise. Instead, we blindly and proudly wave a blue or red flag. Our first president, George Washington, was the only president not affiliated with a political party. In his farewell address, he warned the nation against the formation of political parties and the resulting partisan fighting. The alternate domination of one faction over another, sharpened by the spirit of revenge, natural to party dissension, which in different ages and countries has perpetrated the most horrid enormities, is itself a frightful despotism. At the end of the day, throughout history, we've seen a lot of underhanded tactics and dialect being used against others. We all know from our middle school United States history or American government classes, if we don't like the government, we have the power to change it. It's imperative that we utilize and maintain this power because if those in charge won't spark a positive change, then we will, together. That's the end of the essay, but I do have one more message that I want to tell you guys. I know that in the ensuing political climate and societal nature, that we become scared to talk to each other, and we can tend to grow very, very harmful towards one another in our dialect. I just want you guys to know that I'm scared too, just like every one of you might be scared. But at the end of the day, everything's gonna be okay, And if it's not okay, then it's not the end yet. Thank you very much.
All right, let's give David another warm round of applause. Awesome. Next, we will have Bryce Glass, 5th grade scholar at Anderson Elementary. Bryce entered in our poetry category. Let's give Bryce a warm welcome.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Bryce Glass, and the poem that I will be presenting to you today is titled The Year of 2020. 2020 has been a rough year. COVID-19 is still here. Everyone is in fear. And then I ask, is COVID just going to disappear? I wonder when it's going to end. I can't see all my friends. People are protesting to defend. I don't see things coming to an end. Police brutality is out. Racism is here without a doubt. It's just making me want to shout. I feel like I can't do anything, so I just go about. We need to stick together. It doesn't have to be forever. We just need to wear our masks so we can finish all our tasks. We're protesting to make amends. We are trying to intend that the world is depending on us, so let's not fuss. We can do it. I know we can. So let's come with a plan to get rid of this virus. It's also a crisis. It's 2021, a brand new year. We can scream and shout and even cheer. And although COVID is still here, we'll try and have a great new year.
And Bryce was so prepared when his paper flew away, it did not matter because he knew it anyway. Good job, Bryce. Now let's welcome Crystal Dawn to the stage. She is going to read her excerpt from her narrative entry. Crystal is a scholar at Martha Stillwell, and she is in 10th grade. Let's give Crystal a warm round of applause as she comes to read an excerpt from her narrative.
Good afternoon. Is this good? Fine.
Yes.
I know, is this good? Like,
We can hear you.
oh, okay.
We can hear you.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, cool. So, my narrative is called The Insecurity Cage for a reason. Like, since during COVID, people have been struggling with their mental health, especially since they have to stay at home and go to school from your house. So I'll get into it right now. So never ever have I imagined it or imagined myself getting hit so hard like a whirlwind in any situation because I'm usually calm and laid back. It happened though, and I couldn't do anything about it. I merely remembered being in my room, crying for no reason and questioning why I mattered, while also having trouble contemplating not to cut myself with the knife in my hand. Soon, there was a quiet knock at the door. That was when I realized I had blacked out. I woke up sullenly to almost pitch darkness. Suddenly, all I could see for miles were words. Words and even more words, but not a single person in sight. Those words that have haunted me since grade school towered over me. Desperately, I tried calling out for anyone to help, who could end this horror, this nightmare. But my mouth was glued shut. My mouth immobilized, I tried clawing my way out, banging, and one by one, every last emotion that I held within me spilled. My eyes glared over to a word that said, "You're worthless," and another, "You're pathetic." The thought of my bullied years churned in my stomach. In desperation, as my last attempt to escape, through the last bit of darkness unoccupied by the words, I opened my mouth, ready to scream, only to magnify the silence and have even more words spawned before me. Now my darkness is filled with even more red and hurtful words, with nothing that I could do about. At a loss for words, I slouched down, head hanging and arms clutching around my knees, feeling tears burning in my eyes and forming a small puddle. Okay. Never before have I felt so alone, so worthless. Lost for my words, I let them embrace me, blind me, comfort me, and suffocate me. I wouldn't ever want to feel like that again, but I didn't know how to escape. The pain pushes the real me under to my dormant form, under and forever alone. It felt like weeks, months I was in that cage. I managed to separate myself from the words, relying on the leftover darkness as comfort. Suddenly, a tiny beam of pure white light pierced through and into my forward posture. The light seemed to have come from the words that surrounded me. I attempted to turn my back on it, as I was betrayed before. But its beauty is what captivated me, promising comfort as well as a change of color, easing me into acceptance. Curiously, I just started following its rays, ignoring the words as much as possible and finding such the source. I found it navigating and passing freely, like it gave no care to the world between my main insecurity. You should have never been born. As those words towered over me, never shaken nor trembled so hard ever. As those words towered over me, words towered over me, I thought to myself I couldn't do it. I'm too weak. I'm too powerless. As if the beams heard me, they retreated back through the black and red. I know I couldn't lose the only thing that might accompany me, so I did my best to push past my most main insecurity. I push and I push, and I push with all my being, but I can't. It wouldn't budge. The last bit of light slipped past my grasp and into the black and red cracks, and I felt hopeless once again. Almost giving up, I see another hand. The hand slides past the black and red, and so easily, yet I couldn't meet its grasp. I am hesitant and surprised at first, but if it is to escape this dread, then I am determined. I grab the hand, the soft hand that holds my rough hand tightly and pulls me. This time, I made it through. From that cage came bright and colorful colors that so much that I rubbed my eyes, adjusting to the colors, and there I see it. There I see the hand's owner. The woman is around the same height as me, slender, and wears a long white and gold diamond-encrusted cloak. I can't quite see her face, but I notice her beautiful lips, sharp jawline, and pearly white smile. Similar features as to mine, if I were a tad thinner. Maybe it was the shadow of the clouded sphere that I came from that hid her face. Maybe it was a version of me, but prettier. Oh, and not as roughed up. I had my doubts, and I hugged my heroine, thanking her for all she had done. Thank you.
Let's give Crystal another warm round of applause for her narrative essay that she wrote. Next, we will have Josiah Allen. Josiah is a 4th grade scholar at Lake Ridge Elementary, competing in the poetry category. Okay, we'll go to our next scholar, Taylor Moore. Taylor Moore. Taylor is a scholar at MD Roberts. She is in the 8th grade. Taylor competed in our spoken word category. Let's give Taylor a warm round of applause.
Good afternoon. When I graduated from kindergarten, me and my peers were gifted certificates similar to the style of a yearbook. Actually, I want to tell a different story. I want you to imagine that it's 2020 and you're a Muslim person of color. The setting is, let's say, China. You're afraid. You are chastised and harmed for the religion that you were born into, the religion that you sought to practice. The walls and the floors of the establishment that you reside in are about as comforting as a bed of thorns, yet they are the deaf ears that your cries fall onto. You're alone. It's cold and, okay, maybe that's not too much of a fun story. Do you remember, or if you are still in school, reading a passage and then receiving questions to test the comprehension of what you've read? I want to try that. If a video of a Muslim woman telling you the same story I just told you on your Twitter feed popped up, what would you do? Would you like it? Would you retweet it? Would you click the link in her bio to help? New story. It's 2020 and you're a farmer. You live in Punjab, which is a northern state in India, and you grow all kinds of things like squash and radishes and tomatoes, and oftentimes the garden sweeps you up in its warm, inviting arms and shelters you under the stems and leaves, and you spend hours there until the government tells you that you will be harshly taxed for what you cultivate on that land. But how will you support your family? Gardening is your life. You and your peers find comfort in numbers, hundreds in the streets of Delhi protesting for their futures. It's emotional. The loud cries of young children and the silent tears of their parents, but their cries fall on deaf ears and, okay, that story isn't too fun either, but question time. If you were to see an Instagram post made by a Punjabi woman telling you the same story I just told you, what would you do? Would you post it on your story, send it to bigger creators, share it to another platform? New story. It's 2020 and you're a Black teen. It's a warm summer afternoon and the prolonged act of sitting in your living room has caused your legs to fall asleep. So you decide to get some fresh air and go sit outside on your porch. You live in a beautiful neighborhood. The houses are a little run down, but they're run down by years of memories that you share. Brown is a pretty color. So why was it so out of place that you were approached on your porch by two police officers? Do you live there? Why would you be there if you didn't? Why didn't they give you a chance to answer? Don't resist, just sit still and maybe they'll go away. The repeated thought did nothing to ease your mind as another kick met your stomach and people began to congregate outside on the streets and the sidewalks, crying out to you and the officers for your safety. But their cries, once again, fall on deaf ears. Okay, you know the drill. Now, if a Black man were to tell you that story on a TikTok, what would you do? Would you comment for the algorithm, copy link a couple times to boost it, start protesting Black Lives Matter? Would you donate to the cause and start advocating defunding the police? Would you send letters to your government officials, start wearing Hello Kitty ACAB pens? Okay, last story. I want you to imagine that you're whoever you want to be. And you're listening to a 14-year-old middle school student tell you about situations that you should be somewhat aware of. The cries of her and her generational peers call out to you, yet you do not listen. Because whether you are that silent listener, that Muslim person of color fearing for their life, that farmer protesting their livelihood, that Black teen, Black child, Black adult, you are a character in this story. And any author, poet, editor knows that the plot of a story is driven by the characters. And if you walk away from me today having denied any of my questions, having ignored any of the ways to possibly help people who need you, you are a villain. You're a horrible character arc, an obstacle, a scar on the hero's chest. You are negatively affecting things around you. When I graduated from kindergarten, my peers and I were gifted personalized certificates in the style of a yearbook. And mine read Taylor Moore, most likely to tell you a story. So you can only imagine how confident I felt in my storytelling skills after that. Thank you.
Awesome job, Taylor. Thank you so much. Let's give it up for Taylor again. Next we have Allie Tran, 5th grade scholar at Morrow Elementary School, and her category is poetry. Let's give Allie a warm welcome as she makes her way to the stage.
My poetry is about the George Floyd death, I guess. And the title of it is called I Can't Breathe. I can't breathe as the policeman placed me on me. As I screamed and yelped, no one helped. When I struggled for air, everyone just stared. Everyone around came to look and see, but nobody would help me. I can't breathe. I was struggling for air, trying to breathe through my nose. I moved a bit to see if I could move the knee. The whispers around, wind filled up the air. Finally, as someone stood up and rose, their eyes filled with terror when my eyes started to close. The end.
Let's give another round of applause for Allie, her poem entitled I Can't Breathe. Our next scholar is Sonya Izir, 1st grade scholar at Riverdale Elementary School. Our next scholar is Ashley Jenkins, 4th grade scholar, Marshall Elementary School. Our next scholar is Christopher Taylor Jr., 5th grade scholar at Kemp Elementary School. Christopher is going to wow us with his spoken word.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christopher Todd Taylor Jr., and I have a piece of information to share to all of you, and it's called Black Voices Unheard. February the 23rd, 2020, while jogging, Ahmaud Arbery was hunted and gunned down by 3 white men with law enforcement ties. March the 13th, 2020, while sleeping in her bed, a young Breonna Taylor would have her life stolen from her in a botched police raid. May the 25th, 2020, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, were the words cried out by George Floyd as a police officer forcefully rested his knee against George's neck. The year 2020 was not only marked by a pandemic, but also the widespread of senseless deaths of Black people at the hands of those who vowed to serve and protect its citizens. The year 2020 also sparked a resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement that ignited many protests against police brutality. We've all felt the pain or impact for the Black people who's lost their lives due to racial injustice. February the 23rd, 2021 marks the 1-year anniversary of the tragic death of Ahmaud Arbery. According to an article from CNN, the family still awaits justice. On the anniversary of his death, I watched as his poor mother sobbed, reliving her grief and echoing the cries of many mothers whose voices went unheard. Breonna Taylor, an EMT, was crying out for help when she was shot multiple times by police officers executing a so-called no-knock warrant on March the 13th, 2020. According from an article in New York Times, Mrs. Taylor received no medical attention for more than 20 minutes. It disheartened me in that in her line of work of being a first responder that she didn't receive the same attention. The family petitioned for justice, pushing criminal charges against the officers involved. Her death led to campaigns and support from many athletes and celebrities across the world to spread the message that our voices matter. George Floyd could have breathed when a police officer forcefully planted his knee against Mr. Floyd's neck for nearly 9 minutes. Even after Mr. Floyd called out for his deceased mother, the officer showed no remorse. The video of the murder went viral and sparked protests across the world supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. The actions of the officers dehumanized Mr. Floyd. As a young Black boy, we are reminded in society multiple times to be respectful and compliant to police. But when I see images like this, I question my own faith. Will my plea go unheard? Will my voice live to be silenced? Does my voice even matter? The family of George Floyd wanted the world to know that he did matter and that he was not just another hashtag or a mural plastered on a wall, but he was a son, a father, a brother, and a human being who was loved and who deserves justice. Although we experienced many challenges in the year 2020, we are resilient and we will continue in the fight for justice, equality, diversity, and inclusion. Decades of the struggle that has tried to suppress our ancestors will not be the story of our children. My voice will not be unheard. I am a Black boy with a voice. In America, you will hear me.
Thank you so much, Christopher. Let's give him another round of applause. Did y'all hear him? Okay. So we do have our scholars, Sonya, Izir. So if you would please make your way to the stage. She is a scholar in 1st grade at Riverdale Elementary School, and she has a powerful speech for you. Let's give her a warm round of applause as she comes down.
Voice out. Hello, my name is Sonya Izir, and I want you to know that during this period of helplessness, distress, and depression, it is good for us to use our voice. Our little voice can create a big change to others, especially those facing one problem or the other due to this pandemic. The coronavirus, or COVID-19, has affected millions of people around the world. If you get the coronavirus, you could get very sick and you could die. Sometimes you could have it and not know it at all, but you could spread it to the next person, and that person may not get very sick, but the next one might get it and get very sick and die. The number of people who have died around the world from COVID-19 as of today is 2.7 million, and in America, 546,000 have died. For minorities and poor people, it is even worse. They are between 2 or 3 times more likely to die from COVID-19. Why do you think that is? Next, I want to tell you the story of Dr. Susan Moore, a 52-year-old Black physician who was diagnosed with COVID-19 on November 29, 2020. This is how Black people get killed, she said in her December 4th video she recorded on her phone in an Indiana hospital. When you send them home and they don't know how to fight for themselves, she said in her video that was posted to Facebook. She claimed that her battle with COVID-19 was made worse by the way she was treated by a doctor at the Indiana hospital. The doctor did not feel comfortable giving her painkillers for excruciating pain. I put forth immense pain. If I were white, I wouldn't have to go through that, she affirmed. She had to be transferred to a different hospital and was discharged on December 7th. Her son had to call an ambulance to take her to another hospital where she received better treatment. However, her health got worse and she was placed on a ventilator. She died on December 20th from complications of COVID-19. There are many reasons why minorities and poor people have suffered more during this pandemic. The problems for minorities and poor people have been around for a long time. The problems are economic disparity, lack of access to healthcare, and racial bias in American systems. According to the Century Foundation, African Americans still experience illness and infirmity at extremely high rates and have lower life expectancy than other racial and ethnic groups, and here is why. The American healthcare system is beset with inequalities that have a disproportionate impact on people of color and other marginalized groups. These inequalities contribute to gaps in health insurance coverage, uneven access to services, and poor health outcomes among certain populations. African Americans bear the brunt of these healthcare challenges. African Americans suffer from a huge income and wealth gap with white Americans. We are making more money than years in the past, but we are still paid less for the same jobs and still not able to accumulate wealth or access healthcare. So, what is the answer to the many inequalities in our society? How can our nation fix the problem of inequality? The lack of distribution of income and opportunity to all groups in the society. Obamacare is part of the solution. More than 20 million Americans gained health insurance under the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. As a result of the increased access to health care, it's estimated that more than 19,000 lives have been saved. But according to the Kaiser Family Foundation, after several years of coverage gains following the implementation of the ACA, the uninsured rate increased from 2017 to 2019. Amid efforts to alter the availability and affordability of coverage. Coverage losses in 2019 were driven by declines in Medicaid and non-group coverage. The number of uninsured children also grew significantly. So, how can we use our voices to change things? First, we can speak to our elected representatives to make policy that erases inequalities. Call your representatives and tell them to strengthen Obamacare so that healthcare is accessible to all people. Tell them to give all people equal protection under the law. Effective communication strategies can increase the chances of your opinion having an impact. Your voice does matter in the process, and the only way to make a difference is by using your voice to advocate for the problems you care about that affects virtually everyone. Next, speak to your neighbors and let them know how important it is to vote. Tell them to participate in the election process because our elected leaders are the people who will make laws and policy that will help make our nation more just and equal. I knew a few individuals that did not vote. They are the ones who complain about this or that. Please stop complaining and voice out your vote during elections. When you speak to your neighbors, don't forget to speak to people who are different from you. Tell them what matters to you and encourage them to exercise their voting rights and resist voter intimidation. If you are disabled, access accommodations for the disabled. If you speak another language, access language assistance at the polls. That is, know your voting rights. I'm not going to be silent, especially injustice meted out to innocent people. Voice out and tell the truth. Always stand up for the truth, because you never can tell what tomorrow may bring forth. Whatever you do to others will also be measured to you. Lastly, voice out for the fatherless. Voice out for the less privileged. Voice out for the victimized. Voice out against injustice. Voice out against inequality, and the world will be a better place for all.
So imagine being virtual, as that's how we held our competition this year, and seeing Sonya pop up on the screen with so much power and strength. And again, Sonya is just in the first grade. Let's give it up for Sonya. Good job. Our next scholar is Janiyah Nelson, 8th grade scholar, Point South Elementary School. The category in which she is representing is poetry. Let's give her a warm round of applause as she makes her way to the stage.
I've got little prodigies out here. First, I would like to thank the Lord and my mom, my beautiful mom in the stand, and also my father that couldn't be here today. When I wrote this spoken word, or whatever you want to call it, I did it with no effort. I was sitting on my couch looking at cartoons, eating snacks. Like, that's all I was doing. I did not plan. This was for a small school talent show. Just to show everybody, you know, my writing, and I didn't even know I would win that. So thank you for inviting me here. If anything happens, I love you. A poem by Janiyah L. Nelson. The day. The day was average and fair. The parents had sent their child to school with love and care. Dressed down with the uniform, ironed to the touch. A long black ponytail with fair skin and a plaid skirt entered the threshold. Guardian angels in fear for what they know is not so average. Don't forget your phone, a shout is heard from a car. The black ponytail moving back and forth, rushing to retrieve what the shout had offered. The smell of strawberry perfume now returned to the threshold of the building where it will travel to a class of learning. Fun activities are shared as laughs and cheer roar through the children participating in Christmas traditions before the break. A sound of a panicking but calm voice. All teachers, code red, please secure your students now. Teachers' movements turning frantic as they hurriedly rush children into the corner. All are confused until a faint noise of popping is heard, like a large popcorn machine entered the halls. A gun. A sound of a gun is quiet with footsteps. Footsteps are intense and match with the echo of pops. The louder pop with every footstep like a symphony with no director to guide them. A screen illuminates the dark classroom corner. A text is sent. Mom, if anything happens, I love you. Pow. Dad, if anything happens, I love you. Pow. Dazzy, if anything happens, I love you. Pow. Grandma, if anything happens, I love you. Pow. Breathing. Heavy breaths among the teachers and students who are in suspense. Blood boiling as the closeness of the corner closes in. A door. The handle of the door starts to jiggle, and the air becomes silent as well as though it knows what is happening. Let me in, I know you're in here. Bang. A bang is heard. Bang, bang, bang. More bangs are heard as the doors start to weaken under the weight of the man. If only sobbing wouldn't have caused a domino effect of screams and scrambling, fill the halls, and soon that very room. A boom. The door collapsed. Shots are fired as the children are exposed to what will be their doom. The ponytail moves back and forth, running comes into view, into the last pow. Pow! Pain. This pain is like no other. It's a pain that cannot be shown or felt. A pain that is heard but is as quick as if the curtains close as an actor messed up on stage, but they will never open. The world goes quiet and the darkness has grown. The abdomen now wearing a strong sense of red we are all known to bleed. The ponytail stops as the source collapses. The strawberry perfume fades as the smell of the iron fills the air. The skirts stain red as the blood makes its home. The separation begins as the children are taken away from their parents. About 95% of school students are school shooters themselves, and most of them are motivated from bullying.
Teachers, make sure to connect with your students and make sure you encourage students to be against bullying to save lives, most likely their own lives. And make sure to tell your child for when they go to school for what might be the last time, if anything happens, I love you.
Let's give another warm round of applause for Janiyah from Point South Middle School, 8th grade scholar. Our next scholar is Christina Jackson, Mundy Mills High School, 12th grade scholar. She competed in the poetry category. Let's give Christina a warm welcome. After Christina, we have 2 more scholars and then we'll begin to pass out our awards.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. This is a poem I wrote called The Birds. It discusses a moment that actually happened in my life, and it also serves as a metaphor for life and death and the things we don't appreciate until it's gone. If there's one thing I know, it's that no matter how dark it gets, the sun will rise again and the birds will sing. It begins in the moment that dawn makes her break, and the rays of light are cast upon the floorboards, growing in luminosity by the minute, creating a mesmerizing scintillation, and radiating the warmth and glow of 1,000 halos. In my youth, they'd always greet me in the early morning. They'd fill the silence with their cheerful chatter, nuanced with chittery cheeps and chirps, as if they were telling magnificent stories. In masses, they'd cover the yard, leaving not a single blade of grass in sight, like a black veil overlying the land. Would you believe me if I said I hated it? I despised the melodious sounds of the birds and tried my best to muffle their songs because how dare they disturb my sleep on a Saturday? And the more I tried to drown them out, the more real it all became. In recent years, I look outside and think of what might have happened, because nature's dangerous when she goes quiet. And in recent years, I wonder, where did all the birds go? Wherever their fates may have brought them, I find myself longing for their presence. Maybe they found themselves in some distant utopia, their wings spread against skies of blue. They fill the air with beauty in every sense of the word, while nature shows her gratitude and her protection of God's creature. Maybe they have departed, or rather met their demise, their bodies lost in the soil and laid to eternal rest, and their essence lingering in the places they once roamed. But I know that one day I will be with them again. I too will return to the earth and our souls will be intertwined, like a tapestry woven with ethereal grace, a cessation in which I will truly experience pure bliss. Right now, I'd say that it's looking pretty dark. I yell my apologies and hope that they hear. I pray that the sun will rise again and the birds will sing. To think I once cursed the birds. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christina. That was wonderful. Let's give Christina another round of applause. Next, we will have Little Miss Journey O'Brien, a scholar at Point South Elementary School, and she is in the 2nd grade. Journey competed in our speech category. Let's welcome Journey as she makes her way to the stage.
Look at this. This world that we're in. No happiness, no joy, no peace within. Fighting and killing, evil and hate. Show me in America that is oh so great. Show me love that flows like a stream, not bloodshed of people that look like me. Come on, they look like me. Why are we targets? Mothers are crying as their babies are dying. And we follow a man and I can't stop lying. One day it will end, and there will be no more hate. But until then, I'll be waiting to see the America that is oh so great.
Let's give another warm round of applause for Journey. When Journey presented her piece to us in the virtual environment, we were just really floored. And I know my team can, and everybody, the judges, can say the same. I told Journey's mom then, I said, you have a scholar on your hand and an actress too, so she can just cry at the drop of a dime and embody the spirit of the pieces. And so we just salute her and applaud her. Our last scholar for this evening is Donovan Slack Jr. So Donovan, as he makes his way down, he's going to tell us about what we're about to experience. But everybody should have received an additional piece of paper. And so on this piece of paper, as you make your way down, Donovan, on this piece of paper, you will see a couple of things, a few things. First, you'll see our literary competition ebook. So all of our entries, we were fortunate enough to collaborate with our print services department, and Ms. Phyllis Newsome, our printing specialist and imaging specialist, put together a wonderful piece of work for us to highlight our scholars' accomplishments. Then you will also see, Donovan's coming down, you will also see the videos. So you'll see part 1. So if your scholar competed in part 1 on March 25th, that is a link that you can scan, and then it will take you to the viewing of that. And then part 2 was the second day because we had so many scholars competing. On the back of your program, you will see a QR code for Donovan's piece, and he's going to introduce it, and then simply take out your phone when he's finished, and we want you to view it and hear it. It is very powerful, so we will be completely silent as we listen to it on your electronic device. If you have an iPhone, go to Picture and scan it. If you do not have an iPhone and you have an Android, then you'll have to go download the QR code scanner, and then you'll be able to scan it and view it, okay? We love you, Android users. Let's give a warm round of applause for Donovan.
Hello. So when I decided to do this, I first said to myself, okay, I can do this. Multimedia, that's what I was doing. The reason I chose multimedia is not as fancy or amazing as some other people. I just said, oh, not as many people do multimedia, I could probably win that. So, in the matter of a week, maybe 2 weeks, I just taught myself how to animate. First, I taught myself how to draw, because I cannot. And then I got on my piano, played a little instrumental, and then I sung the song. Recorded the video, edited the video, animated myself. But yeah, that's how I did it. But I want to say a few words, though. I was reading this book, and it's really striking me. It's like I need to say something, so I'm just gonna say, what's happening? What's the point? What's the point? What are we doing? Like, not what are we doing here, but like, what are we doing here in this moment? In the 30s, they had this thing talking about the world of tomorrow. Had robots, flying cars, we're never gonna touch the ground again, we're gonna be on the moon, living. But those are just words, dead words, never seen again. But I just wanna know why. Why were they never seen again? Like you said, Dr. Beasley, we should write. I mean, of course they were written down, but never acted upon. Of course, Kennedy brought it back to attention with the space race and people just going to the moon and stuff. But after the Apollo missions, it just really died down again. Now you have people like Elon Musk, Dogecoin. I love Dogecoin, but besides the point. things like Mars and exploration, but we're still here. So what is this world of tomorrow we seeking? Is it because, all right, I'm backing up. We love nostalgia. I love the 90s, but we always say after each year, I miss last year, but we never enjoy the year that we're already in. We never truly experience what we could have experienced because we missed the time that we lost. I don't know. I'm just an 11th grade student with a mind, I guess. But that's just what I'm thinking. What are we missing out on? What could we be doing with this short amount of time that we have? Limited. It's an X, a Y, a variable that we just don't know when begins or ends. And if you don't have children, if you don't have someone to carry on your lineage, it's just gone forever. Lost. Thousands of years, millions of years just go by and no one remembers your name. There's probably some creature that was never discovered that's just living underneath the bedrock right now, waiting for someone to explore me, just saying, I went extinct too, not just T-Rex. But that's what I'm afraid of. I mean, some people are scared of tigers and bears and spiders and snakes, but I'm just afraid of being forgotten. So I just hope that one day I'll just be something important, I guess. And I don't want to go home and my mom is like, are you okay? I'm fine. It's just an existential crisis that's going on right now, nothing major. But yeah, that's just what I'm thinking. So when you hear it tomorrow, it's not going to be talking about that. It's going to be talking about, of course, police brutality, which was the topic. But I just had to say that, because this book just really brought it back into my mind.
What's the name of it?
Oh, what's the book? Leviathan by Thomas Hobbes, and also The Prince by Machiavelli.
All right. Yes.
Yeah.
So at this time, if you would please look on the back of your program, and we are now going to view Donovan Slack Jr.'s multimedia presentation. He wrote the lyrics, he did the animation, he wrote the music, and he put it all together all by himself. And again, he is a scholar at Martha Stillwell School of the Arts.
And this is my story. You don't know me. And that is what's troubling. I was walking my dog, right, it was on a day, until I walked up to a car. Driver, oh, he shot me. My name is Daniel Atkins, and Cordell Jew is walking free. My name is Daniel. My name is Daniel. My name is Andre Hill, and I'm 42. If you know my name, that's why it's being told to you. I was in a garage, do nothing wrong. My phone was in my hand. The dog said it was done, and within 10
flash before my eyes. I still can't believe that McCoy is walking free. My name is Andre. Andre. Name is Andre. Andre. But if we as a people are together to save the world, save humanity, have equality, and all come together. New society starts with you and me. Tomorrow starts today. Tomorrow starts today. Tomorrow starts today. What's the point of waiting? A new society to save humanity. 'Cause tomorrow starts today with you and me.
And so as you are finishing up viewing Donovan's multimedia presentation, when we watched it before the competition, and then when we watched it again in the competition, after hearing the song, seeing the movement and the animation, when it went silent, and then the information scrolled up, and it talked to you about Andre and the other gentleman that he referenced for Black Lives Matter. It was just a very powerful moment, and we truly feel that Donovan embodied the spirit of our HOV competition, and he truly embodied our multimedia, category. And so because of that, we were able to, and could we, okay, so I'll pause because I didn't realize he was interviewing right now. So we'll move this piece to the very end. But just know that we were very, very proud of him. So let's give him a warm round of applause. And now we are going to welcome to the platform my team member, Tiffany Barner-Davis. She is our early literacy lead, and she's going to kick us off with our awards for our scholars here tonight. Let's give Ms. Barner-Davis a warm round of applause.
Good afternoon. We're going to start with our 2020 HOV winners because we know due to the pandemic they were not able to be recognized, so we're recognizing those tonight. Maxwell Holloway. Mykendria Byers. Ava Reagan. Ruth Crane. Aiden Egarogu. Alyssa Egarogu. Cameron Covington. Calissa Burgess. We are now moving on to our 2021 HOB winners, starting with Ryan Gilbert. Jordan Powell.
Next up, we have Emilian Smith. Brian East. Cadence Lawrence. Jamie Allie Stevens. Brandon Mitchell. Bryce Glass. Allie Tran. Janaya Nelson.
David Nguyen. Christina Jackson. Crystal Doan. Sonya Izir. Journey O'Brien. Zian Matthews. Jamiria Johnson. Camille Harley. Christopher Taylor Jr. Taylor Moore.
Come on. Come on, baby. Okay. You gotta get your sign, baby.
And our last award goes to the Grand Master Jedi, Donovan Slack Jr.
Right here. Right.
And so earlier, Donovan probably did not hear me, but we were trying to recognize Donovan. So this year, we had to do a combination of things. We had to make sure that we recognized our scholars last year that participated, because right when the competition was over, the pandemic hit. And so it was a shutdown, figure it out situation. So we also needed to recognize our scholars for this year as well. And so because of the theme, we looked at the levels of Jedi. So you'll notice that some of your signs say, I raised my voice. Some signs say, my voice was distinguished. But, and then some signs say, Master Jedi, Guardian Jedi, and Grandmaster Jedi. When you look in your magazine, you will see how those categories were formulated. And everybody here is a winner, but we also looked at your score. So we ranked you by score, and that's why you all have different signs. But at the end of the day, we wanted to celebrate each and every one of you. Because of our wonderful partnership with the women of Clayton County, we were able to secure a scholarship for our top scholar this year. And so our top scholar is going to receive $250 to be able to use for their educational purposes from the women of Clayton County. And again, our top competitor or our top person this year is Donovan Slack Jr. He is our Grand Master Jedi.
Look at this one.
Good job, good job. And as we begin to round out our program, I would be remiss if I did not recognize our board member representing District 5, Dr. Beatrice D. Haney. If you would like to come to the podium and give us a few words, and then following Dr. Beatrice D. Haney, we will have Dr. Erica Lloyd, who will give us our honoring their voices. And then followed by that, our balloon release, and then a conclusion with our charge to move forward and continue to raise our voice.
Hello, everyone. I won't be long, but this was pretty lit here today. I was like, I am so amazed and so happy to see our students and our scholars doing their thing. I was like, get down with it, man. And I was like, yes, I will use my voice. And I want everyone to use their voice, especially when it comes time to vote. And I want us to use our voice in capacities where we help our children, we support our children, and most of our parents and guardians. So again, on behalf of District 5, Clayton County Board of Education, I just want to thank you all for just being who you are and how you all have made the sacrifice during this pandemic, because it has not been easy. But we can see that our scholars are well represented, and they still did their thing while they were in the pandemic. And now that we're slowly coming out of the pandemic, I just want them to remain focused. And I just want our teachers to remain focused as well. And I thank you all, educators, and all those who are part of this whole ship, that I do commend you. Again, this is D. Haney, Dr. D, and I am with District 5, Clayton County Board of Education. Be safe.
Let's please give Dr. D. Haney another warm round of applause. And also, let's continue our applause for Dr. Erica Lloyd, our secondary English language arts lead, and our motivational speaker. Please do not leave before we conclude. We also have books from Fifi Handy, Page Turners Make Great Learners. The title of the book is What the Road Said. And I know you want to know what the road said, right? All right. Dr. Lloyd.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to first start off by giving a warm thank you to the Elementary English Language Arts Department, led by Ms. Ebony Brown and her dynamic team, who have coordinated such a spectacular Hear Our Voices competition and reception in the midst of unprecedented year of uncertainty. And congratulations to you all, you Jedi scholars. You have committed to your craft and used your voices to address social issues of justice, equality, diversity, and inclusion. And you offered unique and viable solutions for necessary change. Today we celebrate you. Now, parents and guardians, this message is for you. I stand here as a parent and an educator, two roles that I wholeheartedly believe in, because I really believe in the power of our youth and the futures that await them. I was asked to speak for a moment about how I champion the Jedi in my 16-year-old son. He has always been curious, creative, independent. He's always telling me, Mom, I got this. And he also has a heart to serve. So I will shed some light on how we as parents together can be intentional about nurturing our child's gifts and talents to fight the good fight and to get in good trouble for, again, justice, equality, diversity, and inclusion. Let me begin with a bit of transparency. Parenting has never been a cakewalk, and parenting today seems to come with its own set of obstacles that even my grandparents who raised me did not have to face. There are obstacles on many levels that do get in the way of us trying to nurture and support children who have dispositions of kindness, awareness for self, awareness for others, respect, courage, discipline, and more. With the constant political and social woes of our world, it is now more than ever critical that we raise a generation who are willing and able to be a citizen who is well-informed, community-focused, and who speaks truth to power by using their inner Jedi. So, while I do not have the special sauce or magic stick to making this happen, I have a few practices that I've used that have worked for me and my family. 1, rely on your village. It is not just a cliche that it takes a village to raise a child. Our children must hear and be exposed to their family, their extended family, wise elders, teachers, church members, community leaders, and even their peers, in order for some of their lessons to really be solidified. As much as I try to make sure that my son and other children are equipped with information and skills, at some point, they must hear it another way from another person to fully internalize and make the lesson their own. 2, every day I am reminded through one situation or another to just simply trust the process. It is important to know that some lessons will only come in due time. Do not stop teaching, of course, or telling them how and what, but trusting the process will require patience. It will require faith that the seeds that you are planting in good soil will soon sprout and produce a harvest. Also remember that our children are living, as you've heard today, in these divisive and uncertain times right alongside us. And they too have thoughts and feelings and beliefs about issues that matter to them. So make room to engage them in conversations. Allow them to debate and question you. Question their ideas. And more importantly, listen to their thoughts without judgment. Meaningful dialogue with your child can be sparked by reading a book together, listening to podcasts, watching films, or just talking about what's going on in their world today. Suggest that your child, as you've heard Dr. Beasley mention, maintain a journal. This allows them to express themselves in a safe and creative way. Find time to unplug. Make the most of quality time and be sure to laugh. Laughter is the best medicine. I am very intentional about hugging my son and laughing and telling him that I love him every single day. So he knows that in the midst of this unstable world, there is love and appreciation at home. These things will strengthen our child's overall emotional and physical well-being. Encourage your child to be engaged in their community through organizations and clubs and more, with groups of people who are already engaged in the work. Find organizations that align with your child's areas of interest and hobbies so they can stay informed, develop as activists, and remain connected. I remember carrying my son on my stomach in a black strap across the back pouch when he was just a baby, every week, every month, doing some type of community service project. And today, he's still at it. But now he's just standing on his own 2 feet, and he's making a meaningful impact in the community. So to help identify the group that is most suitable for your child requires attentiveness. Pay attention to what they're watching, what they're listening to, what they're talking about, even their social media feeds. These can all be signals that convey our child's thoughts and feelings about particular issues. One tool that I would recommend that all parents and students, anyone who has a device, use is the 5 Calls app. You have a device, go ahead and download the app, Android and iPhone users. This app allows you and your child to reach out to our legislators, to voice your areas of concern. And remember that everyone can do something. So get your child active. Give, guide, and release. Continue to provide much needed guidance to help them make sense of the world around them while giving them feedback. When they are tweens and teens, it is not uncommon that they will push back on some of the guidance. But remember your village, they're there to support you, so find the balance. Also understand that it is okay to release. Release them to figure out things on their own. This will lead them to finding out more about themselves and who they are, more about discovering their voice, determining their stance, and learning difficult but necessary situations, and also allow them to be innovative in their thinking and their responses. So, being a parent comes with a roller coaster of emotions, but the same is true for being young. It's just coupled with outside distractions, influences, and an uncertain sense of self, maybe even some insecurity at times. While they're just simply trying to search for a safe and peaceful place where their need for belonging can be met. But being young also carries endless possibilities of creativity, curiosity, energy, impatience, and guts. It holds a special joy of life. The beauty of it all is that each of our children are unique and possess their own set of gifts to give to the world. Our role is just to help them discover how to use their gifts and talents to leave the world better than the way we're handing it to them. So in the age of rampant technological advances, which is simply the world that they've grown up in, our children are at the forefront of change and innovation. And they also possess the spirit to make things happen. They just need to be given the space and tools to think critically and collaborate and create and to excel. So we must have the young people's voice. I'll repeat that. We must have the young people's voice. As a society, I don't think we can survive without truly listening to the voice of the young person and assisting them in developing their skills that can get their voices heard in the right places where decisions are being made. Hear Our Voices is not just a literary competition. It is also an opportunity to offer our children a platform to raise awareness and contribute solutions, because as I've already stated in the beginning, I believe in the power of our young people, and I know you do too. I know that every young person has potential to fulfill, and I know that when we are able to acknowledge, nurture, and create space for our children to share their voice as a Jedi advocate, they can work to create righteous and strong societies together. Thank you. So I also want to share an experience, I'm going to pull it up, that we had in February. Actually, it was February 26th. The Secondary English Language Arts Department hosted an African American read-in. And during that event, we were asking students, parents, community members, and educators to read a text, either existing or created by themselves, to honor the voices of African Americans. We had a student, Elijah Major, who came to the event and he shared his original piece of poetry. And as a result, he floored the audience. We were immediately connected to his voice, connected to his message. And so it led me to ask Elijah, have you ever heard of Hear Our Voices? And I also asked him what school he attended. He said he went to Mundy's Mill High School and he was a senior. He had been in Clayton County Public Schools since elementary. However, he had never heard of Hear Our Voices. Of course, this frustrated me as an English language arts educator. However, I invited him to speak here today to share his poetry. Unfortunately, he can't be with us because on April 16th, he was tragically struck by a car on his way to work. It was a hit and run incident. So today I want to honor him. I want to let his voice be heard. And remember, when your words are in writing, they live on forever. So here's the poem actually this isn't a poem. This was a speech that he asked his Principal Townsend, to share with his peers during graduation this month. So although he's not sharing it during graduation, we're hearing it today. And it's entitled, Free Indeed, Thoughts of a Rising Generation. For history untold repeats itself. So if you've never been taught to overcome obstacles of oppression, at this pace, your ego is being torn so it feels as if another door of opportunity has been slammed in your face. We must break the cycle where we allow others to define us, for we are greater than what was. To prepare the generations for what's to come that may walk past, that lead the future, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So now it's time to equip the lost with the knowledge and tools we fought so hard to learn. See, with knowledge comes responsibility to pass the torch. By Jesus' stripes, we are healed. But because of the lack of knowledge, we as a people perish. There's pain and purpose that creates an endured substance. But is that all we obtain? No weapon formed against thee shall prosper. Take hold unto faith that change is going to come. And these words of peace will divide and conquer, reaching every man, woman, little girl, and boy. For we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us, and as the sun sets free, we are free indeed. As I contemplate and think about the overcoming of these hardships we face as a people, I begin to think, what's the story that I would tell my son or daughter? What will we tell generations to come? Will we be selfish to fight a war that will wage a burden on them, or a story they'll embrace with pride? That these shackles that reach farther than the physical eye can see can be broken. He ends with still we rise, no longer bound. That is by Elijah Major.
Let's give Dr. Lloyd as well as Elijah Major a warm round of applause. So as we round out our program, you see you have several balloons that are staggered. Some of them have floated away, but that's okay. At this time, I would like for you to get your balloon, take it off of the tape, and as you hold your balloon with your parent, I want you to look at your parent eye to eye. Your parent, your guardian, your loved one, whoever is here to support and champion you to be great. And as you look at your scholar, and as you look at your supporter, I want you to speak your name. Think about those things that you wish to raise with your voice, those things that you wish to be heard by everyone. And as you do that, I'll give you 10 seconds to commit that promise to each other, that your voice matters, you matter, and you're going to continue to raise your voice and be heard everywhere that you go. 10 seconds of silence. And now, as you release it, say, hear my voice.
Hear my voice.
Release. Scholars, parents, and guardians, as we watch the balloons float away and watch your voice, your affirmations go up, I want you to continue to carry your voice forward. I give you a charge to never stop reading. I give you a charge to never stop writing. And I give you a charge to never stop believing that you are important and you will make a difference in this big, wide world. As you leave and exit, please do not forget to come by the stage and take a copy of your book. Yes. And these books that are being donated by Page Turners Make Great Learners are also autographed by the author. And we will also be sending you a QR code so that you can take a selfie, because we have an OMG photo booth. And so we want you to take a selfie on your phone. We will send that QR code to you on tomorrow because we wanted to give you time to get the yard sign in the yard. And we want to see your beautiful faces and your yard sign so we can share that with everyone as well. We hope that you enjoyed our event today. And please know that we look forward to seeing you compete and raising your voice next year. Make sure that you dine and have a wonderful time and a good rest of your evening. Thank you so much.